it started. Oh,
What we doing?
let's get it started.
Yo, what's up with the fellas? How you feeling?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not feeling the best. I mean, I can sit here and lie to you, tell you I'm okay, man, but it's just disheartening sometimes, man. It's just growing up is a little underrated. I kind of want to go back to the schoolyard and the marbles and the little ball and the
Back in the
jacks.
days when I was young,
Yeah.
I'm not a kid anymore. But sometimes I sit and wish I was a kid again.
Yeah, you turn on the TV, the radio. I even had some new artists send me some music, and I have never heard the P word come out of women's mouth. So I'm like, is this what the new music is about? Is the P, the P, the P?
Yeah, that's crazy.
We out of the demo.
Yo, but my dude, why we gotta talk about the P so much?
It's a lot going on out here with even though she's not popping. Somebody sent me the link to Queen Vitara or Princess Vitara. Have you heard
that?
Oh, she's a chick from the Virgin Islands or somewhere. Her song is, "But do you eat
the P?"
No. But the lyric is, "Do you eat ass, ass, ass?" Yes, I eat ass. I was like, yo, what is going on these days? It's just too much. I don't understand. Like, where are our people at right now?
They're gone. Night of the Living Bassheads. The Night of the Living Bassheads. They're gone.
I mean, this is.
I don't know if it's been the drug. Like, I was thinking about this because, on Saturday and on the weekend, I'm a documentary head. So I'm like, I binge watch a bunch of documentaries and stuff like that. And so I was watching, a bunch of Black history documentaries and stuff. And I was thinking, how we were all buttoned up and we were all, civil and all fantastic in the civil rights era. And then, after the Black Panther Party and the drugs came in, and then it was like Night of the Living Bassheads. Yeah. I was watching, Hip Hop Evolution. You look at, from Schoolie D's era or all the way back to Run DMC, to the Cold Crush Brothers and all that other stuff. And then after, when NWA broke, Night of the Living Bassheads.
And the crazy part, I always say this, the crazy part is, like, I remember we had, in the Philly area, we had Lady B on Sundays from noon to 4. You couldn't get rap music on the radio Monday through Saturday. You couldn't get rap music. And we were talking about Run DMC and Houdini, where all that stuff was like, Houdini's, one of their biggest songs literally is One Love. There was no, you could get a Run DMC album and out of 12 songs, it'd be one curse word. NWA drops, all of a sudden, rap is everywhere on the radio. Like, they went from, we're not playing rap music, it's too subversive, to, we're going to start calling women B's and H's. We need that on the radio. What?
So let me ask you this.
Yes, they're trying to kill us. Yes, they're trying to kill us.
And I always fought some of this, but the older I get, the more I'm starting to understand. And it's not just the music, because we were just talking a minute ago about how there were federal and state laws to break up the family unit, that these were laws, right? That eventually came overturned over time in the 60s, right? Early 70s. But I feel like in my generation, with the food, the alcohol, the drugs, and the music, and the separation of the whole family unit, I don't need no man, I can raise my son by myself. And by the way, let's talk about that little boy in the bodega. I know this ain't the show notes, but Maynard, I got some stuff to get off my chest.
Preach.
So you had the young brother.
Hold on, Lamont. Let's get you up on camera 3 so we can get you get that on.
I'm good.
No, that's not right. No, that's not right. No, oh shucks, Lamont, get it off your chest. Get it off your chest, young man.
Okay, so listen. So you got this young. I want to say African-American male, but it looks like there's some sort of different nationality, whatever. Young brown, young man, maybe, I think they said he was 9 years old. So he's in the bodega, the store, with his mom. He has his backpack on. However it happened, his backpack brushed up against a Caucasian woman. The Caucasian woman calls the police. This young man assaulted me, blah, blah, blah. This little boy is hysterical, right? everything calms down. We find out that he didn't do it. Fine. He goes and has an interview, and the reporter says, "Hey, man, are you going to forgive this lady that did this to you?" And he was like, "No, I can't." And he didn't. And I'm paraphrasing now. I can't believe the stress that this lady put on me. I'm never going to forget this. My whole life, shebang, boom, boom, boom. Now, a few days later, here come ABC. Little boy on there. They ask the same question. Yes, I forgive her. Now, wait. Whoa, time out. First of all, here's my question. Where was the pappy? Why was it just the black woman and the little boy on there?
He was out of the home. He was out of the home because of the Welfare Act. He was out. He was around the corner with his other family.
Okay, give me a minute. Okay. So the little boy, he didn't have a grandpappy? Right? He didn't have an uncle?
He was on the other corner. Right. With his other family.
Right. He didn't have a coach, a team leader at the boys club. What I'm saying, and I don't know his whole personal thing, but I'm trying to figure out, and I'm not saying that this happened, but on the outside looking in, this mama that told this little boy, "Oh, we got to forgive her. We was reading Martin Luther King. We got to turn the other cheek. We got to do X, Y, and Z." And I'm like, did this boy poisoned at 9 years old for you to say, "Oh, I got to forgive him"? Like, where did all of this white Jesus, we got to forgive everybody? White
Jesus.
I'm going with the black Jesus. But this whole turn the other cheek, I mean, this little 9-year-old got scarred, bro. Like for the rest of his life. And I just have a issue because, in my opinion, I feel like that there was no male involved in that whole altercation.
So anger should last forever?
I don't know if it should be about anger for last forever, but that whole "I'm going to forgive you for whipping me," or and I'm saying whipping, I'm going back to the slavery days. "I'm going to forgive my master because I asked for a piece of soap." What was that? What was the one with Lupita? Which one was that? Come on, the movie?
12 Years a Slave.
12 Years a Slave. Remember what she? Lupita. Remember she had the soap, right? And she got, "What you doing with the soap?" And she got all those lashes, and I'm supposed to forgive my master for trying to take a bath?
Hey, man. Lamont,
I'm just asking.
Hey, listen, man, I don't disagree with you. You just put a lot on me. You said this wasn't in the show notes, and I wasn't prepared for it. It's a lot.
So I'm just saying, what happened in the first interview when the little boy said, "No, I don't forgive her. That lady did me wrong. I did not touch her." But then we get on ABC, I think it was GMA or whatever, it's all kumbaya. Like, what kind of message does that send? And I'm saying that you got to be mad, but I think that there's a way that you can still hold someone accountable for making an incorrect statement like that. You know what I'm saying? And when I say that, I'm talking about the lady who called the police on the 9-year-old.
I think
on a 9-year-old.
I think the challenge really, and you're right. But why are these white folks calling the cops on black folks? Maynard, stop trying to hijack and put it on the white folks calling the police. Forget them. We got to take care of our business. Just like the barbecue people in Oaktown. That's why I love them boys from Oakland. Because they say, "You know what, Barbecue Becky, we coming back next week and we bringing the squad. And we going to play some not Mac Miller. We going to play some Mac Dre. And we gonna mess around. We gonna barbecue these wings. Now what you gonna do?
You gonna barbecue these wings?
Word up, we gonna barbecue these wings.
Hey, yo.
So instead of worrying about that white woman, I want to talk to that little 9-year-old. I want to know who are the brothers in that environment that are saying to that 9-year-old, "You know what? It's okay for you not to forgive that lady." Unfortunately, this is a hard lesson that needs to be learned. Unfortunately, you got to get it at 9. She brought it to his doorstep. We got to address it.
I think that. Go ahead, man.
I think you can forgive somebody and still hold them accountable. You can forgive and still say, "Yo, what you did is wrong. And you need to pay, and I forgive you," all in one sentence. That can happen.
So should we forgive the people in Washington, D.C. that made that great monument? I never paid attention to this the other day. Of Martin Luther King Jr., right? You know that little statue they made over there? Mm-hmm. Why is it white?
I think you focused on the wrong thing on that one, Lamont.
No. Why is it white?
I think you focused on the wrong.
Somebody asked me, and I was like, you know what? I never thought about that. Why is the statue white?
Well, it's the concrete is actually
the stone that
type
you're
of
using
rock.
is white.
Right.
Why is it white, Spudd? Stop playing. Why?
You asking a crazy question.
So you mean tell me we can't find no stone that has a little color to it? A little bit more lifelike?
Okay.
Martin Luther King.
So charcoal is what you were looking for?
Just give me something, bro. Give me a little something. Martin
You know
Luther
what,
King.
though? Let me tell you something. If they made it out of charcoal, Lamont be sitting here saying, why they gotta make him so daggone black? That's not fair. He black. He ain't that black. Goodness gracious.
Why is MLK white?
Hey, yo, can I play this intro real quick, man?
Please. Go ahead.
Hey, welcome to Three Black Guys with the Mic, the black male's perspective on politics, hip-hop, and the urban community. Now on WOVU 95.9 every Tuesday from 3 to 5 p.m. in Cleveland. What's up, everybody? Thank you so very much for tuning in. Make sure you check us out on our Facebook page. Get involved in the conversation that we talk about today on our Facebook page at facebook.com/3blackguyswiththemic or on our website at 3blackguyswiththemic.com. You can hear us on those two platforms as well as any platform, podcast platforms that are out there. Today on the show, we are 2 weeks away from the midterm election, so we gotta break down like the crucial states, the states that may be flipped and, the whole nine. We got to talk about everything because we're 2 weeks away. Plus, I love black people, but I hate Negroes. And I wish I could say the N-word, but we not. I love black people, but I hate Negroes.
I think you can
We're
go
going
with,
to talk about it
go with ninjas.
today.
I think you can go with
ninjas.
No,
I'm going with Negroes. And let's go with, okay. Plus, we got Charlotte Williams and Joan Lee who'll be joining the conversation to talk about domestic violence. My man, Lamont, how are you, sir?
I think we know a little bit about how Lamont is.
I'm okay, man. How you doing, brother?
Maynard, how are you, my man?
I'm entertained.
Behold the green and gold. You did the homecoming thing this weekend?
I did not go to homecoming this week. That's why I sent y'all the article, man. My
grandfather
was honored for his contributions to the civil rights movement.
Well, tell us a little bit about that. Whoa, give me,
nice.
No. Yeah, don't just brush over that, man. What's that about?
I wouldn't have brushed over it because I did share it with you, but All right, so my grandfather, William Dutch Burton, who passed on to glory back in '93, but in in the '50s, he was a city council person in Wilmington, Delaware, and there were these 7 Chrysler employees that went to go sit at a coffee shop, and they were denied service. So in the state of Delaware at the time, there had only been a handful of African-American men who actually had passed the bar, one being this guy named Lewis L. Redding, who also worked on the 1954 Brown versus Board of Education trial with Thurgood Marshall, which they won. So my grandfather, along with the help of Lewis Redding, goes into the coffee shop, Eagle Coffee, which was on on federal property, and he was denied service. So they sued. They lost in the state case, and they lost in the city case, and in the state case, and they took it to the United States Supreme Court and won. And that was kind of along the lines of the Rosa Parks decision. So they decided to put a state historical marker on this new building and change the name of the street to Burton Place. So
nice.
That was great, and so for that I had to move. I had to miss homecoming. The homecoming was amazing from the pictures I saw, but I really had a much better time doing what I was doing.
Nice. How was your weekend, Lamont?
Well, you know what? Actually, it was my homecoming weekend as well. But you know what? I'm not really a homecoming guy. You know what I'm saying? I send a check. You know what I'm saying? Do my little alumni thing to make sure I'm current on the good people's list. And Bought some bricks. You know how they put your bricks on the wall and the name and the ground, whatever that is. And
Tennessee State, y'all buying bricks.
Bricks in the ground, man.
I know what you mean, baby.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
I think weekend was okay. Nothing really big happened over here. You know, the usual crab legs, filet mignon. You know what I'm saying?
Filet mignon.
Yeah, filet mignon. Just chilling, man. Just happy to be
had
alive.
the filet mignon.
Yeah.
Is that different than the mignon? I mean, what is this situation?
That's a little different.
I'm not up on that game.
No, that's the lower end of it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
so
okay.
I won't do the chop steak. I'll do the filet mignon. So that's what I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, do you want to give your homegirl a birthday shout out?
Who? Oh, Karen Dumas. If you don't know who Karen Dumas is, just Google Karen Dumas. We love Karen Dumas at Three Black Guys with a Mic. Recently it was her birthday. So we just want to take some time to wish you happy birthday and many, 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 many more. That's good, Maynard? That's suffice? You okay? You okay with that one?
I'm fine with that. With that.
Spudd, we okay with that?
I'm good with it.
All right, perfect. We good. All right, next.
I love black people.
But I hate
Negroes. Shout out to my man Steve. You know, he used to call my show all the time, and he used to say, Spudd, I love black people, but I hate Negroes. And I never really understood that concept until I was exposed to some Negroes. Now, I live in the suburbs, all right? And
you can get a Suburban Black T-shirt. You can get a Suburban Black T-shirt if you like.
I can. And so my wife and I, we go to the movies every Tuesday. That's what we do. All right, we Tuesday moviegoers. And so we wanted to go and see The Hate You Give, which everybody should go and see. It is amazing. All right? Mm-hmm. It is everything that is going on right now, from police brutality to racial tension in America. It is a movie you definitely should see.
So can I ask a question? Wait, Spudd, not to cut you off.
Of course you can.
If I see it on the Fire Stick, I'm okay?
You should not see it on the Fire Stick.
All right, I just had to ask.
You should not see this one at the Fire Stick.
I will call my wife and we'll go to the movies.
Right, there's a couple of, and that's something I can definitely point out that you should watch on the Fire Stick. This one, you should not.
Okay, cool. All right, we good.
Now,
okay.
We go to the movies in the suburbs on Tuesdays because it's $5. Right? Like the $5 movie, you get the free popcorn. My wife is the reward member, so we get the free popcorn every Tuesday. We go, we have a little dinner first. We go and get the $5 ticket. We go in the line, and we do our thing. We go into the movie. We watch the movie. We come out of the movie. We discuss the movie. We go home. Life is great.
Life is great.
This week, The Hate You Give wasn't playing at our movie theater. So, I really wanted to see the movie. My wife is like, nah, let's not see the movie. Let's just wait till next week when it comes to our theater. I say, no, we got to go see it. We got to support the movie. I find it. We go. Now, I'm already taken aback to this movie because there's 15 Negroes in the line. Now, where I go to the movies, it's not typically Negroes in the line except for me and my wife. Maybe a couple of the sprinkles, but just me and my wife is typically the Negroes that are in the line. But this is a line that's outside. Didn't say nothing. It's all good. No problem. I'm with my people. I'm in the line 10 minutes. Now, that's already a problem because that means that the line ain't moving. Because we got Negroes at the counter, and they can't really maneuver fast enough. It's not enough registers open. It's a problem, but I'm not saying nothing because I'm with my people. We got some Groupon jumping off at the place. No problems here.
So wait, quick question. Are we still in the suburbs?
We're not in the suburbs. So let me take one step back. So we found a place that was in the suburbs, but it ain't in the suburbs.
Okay.
It's kind of like suburbs. It's been re-gentrified on the reverse gentrification. At any rate. Now, we go into the movie theater. Mm-hmm. First of all, they give us the wrong seats because nowadays, we're used to going to the movies in the suburbs. They got the big TV. Got the big nice seats. You know, they got the assigned seating, the whole 9 yards. You know, you get to roll back. They got the recliner boys and the whole 9. Now, we get our seats. First of all, they give us the wrong seats. So we go, no problem, whatever. The lady's like, oh, okay, just sit right here next to us. It's no problem. Now, 1,500 Negroes come into the movie late. Now, I got to go. When I go to the movies, I want to see the previews. If I don't see the previews, it's a problem. So, we got late Negroes coming into the movie. 2 people come. Oh, this is our seats. Okay, now we got to go in the dark while the movie is going to find the man, to tell the man, is somebody sitting in our seat? So we sitting in their seat. So can you get the people out of our seat so everybody can be okay? All right? We get in our seats. Next to me is 2 people who wants to talk through the entire movie. Now, I'm a little older. I want to see the movie. I don't want to hear your commentary. It took everything in the world for me not to actually say something to these people. My wife's like, nah, just be quiet. Don't say nothing. We don't want no problems. Blah, blah, blah. We don't want nobody pull out no gun and, start shooting and all that other stuff. Which is that's a whole nother problem. I can't simply say to Negroes, look, my man, I'm trying to enjoy the movie. Like, you ain't got to say, oh, don't you go over there? Oh, girl, heck no. I wouldn't take that. Oh, no, you better shut them down. I don't want to hear all that drama. I want to watch the movie. You got the old people, they getting up, they saying, excuse me. They got one family, she giving popcorn to this aisle, she giving popcorn to this aisle. And black people, I love you to death. Now, Maynard, you got a 9-year-old. I'm going to ask you this because I think I know what you're going to say, and I hope I know what you're going to say. But are you taking your daughter to a movie at 9 o'clock at night on a school night? Actually, it wasn't rated R. But are you taking your daughter to a movie on a school night that has everything to do with police brutality, shooting and cussing, and the whole 9 yards? Are you taking your daughter to that movie on a Tuesday?
So let me just check and make sure before I answer this. Do I want to be a black person in this scenario? Or do I want to be?
You want to be a black person?
Oh no, I'm not. I'm not. No, sir. I'm just checking.
Stop taking your kids to the damn movies at 7 o'clock at night on a Tuesday. Why they not at home doing homework? If they don't got homework, they got to get ready for tomorrow.
Some reading or something.
Dinner, reading, something. They don't need to be in the movie theater on no Tuesday night watching no movie that got violence and shooting in it. I don't want to hear a 4-month-old crying in the middle of a damn movie. I don't want to see that. I love black people, but I hate Negroes. And then it got me even more enraged because as we were talking earlier, and I was doing a commercial for one of my clients is like, oh, you got too much diversity in here. Could we find some more black people to actually put in the commercial? I said, well, you don't like white people? Nah, I just want some more black people in it. So I'm looking through footage in the whole 9 yards. It's a party, blah, 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 blah. And you know what I see? All my black women bent over, shaking and twerking and gyrating in the whole 9. And I say to myself, why don't I see this in the white footage? Why do I see this in the black footage? Why and how have we been so disrespectful to ourselves and to our sisters that we are bent over in front of a guy dancing?
You don't even know him. You don't even know him.
I ain't got to that part yet because I love black people, but I hate Negroes. For my man Chris Rock, who said and bring the pain. I love black people, but I hate Negroes.
Hey, Lamont.
Black people will live next door to you, rob you, and then come over and say, hey, I heard you got robbed.
Is that black people or is that Negroes?
That's Negroes. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Okay. Just making sure.
Okay, but
Chris Rock quoted the phrase grand closing, grand opening, grand closing.
Grand
because
opening.
the black Negroes can't keep the disco open. Negroes shooting in the movie theater.
But
In the last poets, if you have never seen, Negroes are afraid of the revolution.
But Spudd.
In the last poets.
Lamont,
What black people, what Negroes
Lamont,
gonna do?
let him go. Let him
Negroes
go.
gonna, Negroes love to shoot. That's what the black poet said. Negroes love to shoot. Shoot off at the mouth. Love to shoot on New Year's Eve. Shoot around the corner. But when it comes time to shoot for the revolution, Negroes ain't nowhere to be found. And that's the problem we got. Negroes ain't gonna show up. Negroes ain't gonna show up for Stacey Abrams. Is 107,000 Negroes or 53,000 Negroes? Negro voters gonna be showing up for Stacey Abrams, seeing that they've been suppressed in Georgia? Negroes ain't outraged in Mississippi at the fact that what's the boy's name, Chris McDaniels, got Confederate flag signs in Pearl, Mississippi, where my family's from. But in Pearl, Mississippi, Negroes gonna show up for Mike Epstein. Negroes gonna show up for Andrew Gillum. Why we gotta ask Negroes to vote, like you said, at 40 years old? Why we gotta ask Negroes to vote at 40? Why is it my responsibility to go and make sure I take 10 Negroes to the poll and they're adults? Why? I shouldn't have to do that. What Negroes gonna be doing on November 6th? Playing PlayStation on the corner, shooting on Instagram, hollering at a chick, sitting there and talking about, oh, it don't matter if my vote ain't gonna change. Negroes love to talk about ain't no change in the world, but don't want to be a part of the change.
So Spudd, can I get in here for a minute?
Yeah, man.
And just so we're very clear, and I kind of feel bad to a degree because I don't know how to play PlayStation. What I really remember was Donkey Kong, the television that my mother bought us when we were little kids, and that's about it. But let's just throw a couple facts in there because I think what you said is correct. And man, you can back me up on this. The statistics shows that the majority of the mass shootings that have happened in this country over the past 50 years is 0% African-American males. Correct, Maynard?
I wouldn't say 0%.
It was 0.00145. Because I got to go with my man in D.C. now.
You got to go with him. There's been more than one or two, but it ain't been. It ain't 20%.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so we're at least over 95% of all of the. When we talk about shootings, that's what they do, right? Even though we do shoot. When we talk about, I think what you said about the getting drunk, because what immediately came to my mind is the Bush girls, right? GW's daughters, right?
Okay.
They got busy, and they got squads that they get busy. GW got busy. Daddy Bush got busy in terms of alcoholism. But I think what you're saying is true because over time, those girls, although we heard the stories, we saw the evidence, but we don't see that plastered all over the internet. We don't see them, in the frat house, bending over, doing X, Y, and Z. Even our Judge Kavanaugh, right? Our Supreme Court Justice is on record. He got busy, right? Him and his boys. It took me 48 years of age to understand what boofing was because I didn't know what the hell that was. Did you, Maynard?
Wait a minute. Let me write that down. How do you spell that? How do you spell boofing?
BOOFING, right? So I'm slow.
Will my Google machine help me find that one?
Yeah, it'll help you.
Okay.
So I'm saying to myself that the Supreme Court Justice of the United States of America, he gets busy with boofing. If that's what you want to do your thing. But I'm saying those kind of things are not as highlighted as much as when we do bad things in our community. So, Spudd, I think everything that you said is right, but let's not act like that other nationalities don't get busy. They don't do.
No.
That's all I'm saying.
You are correct. Mm-hmm. Other nationalities ain't our problem. We are problem.
I agree.
We got to learn how to be able to take the responsibility for the problems that we have. I get it. I understand. Mm-hmm. We have been disenfranchised. We have been, lost in this country since civilization. Now, Lamont, I don't know if you watched it, Maynard, or not, but you and I watched the FX series Pose, right? which was, about, about the transgender community and,
Yes.
voguing and all that other stuff. So anyway, so I watched the documentary behind that series. It's called Paris is Burning. And I was, like, oh, and in that documentary, it breaks down the shade and reading and all that other stuff. And I was like, oh, I didn't even get it. But in that documentary, it said something that was extremely profound. And that was, in this country, we black folks look to white America as the example. Let me see if I wrote it down because it was I rewinded it. Black people in the country are the greatest example of behavior modification in the history of civilization. Mm-hmm. And I said, boom! Mm-hmm. That is and that's the reason why we go out, we buy Gucci. Mm-hmm. That's not even marketed to us.
Wait, Spudd, stop. And here's how to give you credit on the Gucci thing, because here's what I did not know. I did not know until I watched the documentary how dysfunctional the family is, everything that they represent, the whole shebang. I would never, and
don't get it wrong. I give Gucci his props for what they did for Dapper Dan, for, what they do, some of the things with Simone Sanders and some of the things that they're doing for the black community. I get it. But as far as representing their brand on my body,
I'll pass.
It's the reason why we will go out and buy a fake Gucci purse or a fake Louis Vuitton, or you got these kids out here with fake Ferragamo, fake Ferragamo belts on and the whole nine. These big rocks out here, they can't even afford them because we are the biggest. When Steve South said it, he was like, it's crazy that black folks buy products that is not even marketed towards them. All because we want to fit in, we want some sort of identity. I love black people, but I hate Negroes. And I just say this as we wrap and we go to a break. Negroes, I'm down for you. I am down to be able to hold or help you come up if you want to. But I cannot continue to allow for Negroes to be able to exemplify what black America is about. And unfortunately, like you were saying, the small things that white America or Asian America or any other culture in this country get a glimpse of Negroes, then they put it on all black people, and that's not the case.
I said
we are
this like
smart
94
people.
shows ago. I was into this 94 shows ago.
We ain't talking about you right now.
Right.
Give me my time, B.
Right. No.
Time. I'm reclaiming my time.
But Spudd,
you didn't have all the time.
No, but Spudd,
it's my moment.
No, Spudd. That's part of the issue. You see how Maynard had to be like me, right? That's just like the Gucci shirt. Look at me. This is what I got. This is what I did.
And I was just saying this, and I was gonna post this on on Instagram, but I didn't. But I'm so amazed. I look at so many different people, and we talk about branding. When it comes to the jobs, when it comes to the clothes, I'm so amazed when I'm like, gosh, you guys do all of this hype for somebody else, and nobody is even giving any hype to their own selves. More people will be like, oh, look at me, look at where I work, look at this place, and look at who I represent, look at what I'm all about. But you won't even represent for yourself? No, we got to change that behavior. Negroes will go out all the way to Somerset, which is a mall in Detroit or in Troy, and buy $1,000 Gucci shirt, belt, whatever, but won't go and support their man down the street that got a clothing line.
Okay, but now, Spudd, let me just say this. Let me defend Somerset. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I would love to hear how you defending Somerset.
Well, not necessarily Somerset, but Nordstrom. I can go to Nordstrom, buy me a shirt or a suit or a pair of shoes, and take it back with no problem. If I got to go to over on 6 Mile in Linwood it's all kind of issue because it might not this.
Which is even more the problem.
Right. So the customer.
That's even more of the issue.
And what I'm saying is that in certain places, for me, it's about customer service, and that's not to say that in the urban or city environment that you don't get customer service, because you do. But there are certain things in certain places that you get a different level of customer service that you can't get in other places. And to me, just like what you just said, here's the real reality of your experience at the movies. 40% of that experience that you had is your fault and your wife's fault. You know why?
Because we should have stayed our asses at home.
Because y'all know better. Y'all know better.
Y'all spoiled. Y'all taking y'all spoiled suburban?
No.
He's the customer.
We tried to give an opportunity to somewhere else, and that opportunity backfired on us.
Right.
That's all.
Right.
I mean, don't get it twisted. There's another movie theater that's in Southfield I never go to.
God, no.
Never go to. But my man, he had a premiere of his movie over the weekend, right? I said, we got to go, all right? I ain't want to go. The tickets was $25. I ain't want to go.
A piece?
I was like, damn, for a movie?
A piece?
But that's my man. So I say, I got to support my man. No matter what, don't matter. I got to support my man. I got to be down for my man.
You get a hot dog?
This movie theater? We ain't get nothing.
Some popcorn?
No. But I still was like, you know what? I got to go support my man. But I don't go over there. So this is more about, I don't know, man. I want us to do better. I want for Negroes to do better. And and no longer am I going to be mad at Negroes for the things that they don't know and the things that they're not going to do. I don't expect for Negroes to show up on November 6th. I don't. I want them to, but I don't expect for Negroes to show up. You know why? Because Negroes is going to be like, yo, my vote don't count. Cool. Why am I arguing with you about that? Why am I sitting here getting into this dialogue with you about, your vote don't count? Playboy, your vote don't count. Cool. I'm going over here to cast my vote. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to be on my vote back.
Maynard?
I'm ready to go to a break when you guys are. Listen. I agree. Thank you. That's all I got to say.
All right, we're going to a break. We'll be back, ladies, right here. You're listening to Three Black Guys with the Mic on WOVU 95.9. We'll be right back right after this.
We're here when you're ready.
Welcome back to Three Black Guys with the Mic. It is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We are honored to be able to have Charlotte as well as Joan with us to talk more about domestic violence. Joan, let me start with you. If you can, I would like to start with your story in regards to how you got involved in domestic violence and, a little bit of your story. It's pretty powerful. So if you can, I'd like to start with, a little bit of your story. So if you can tell our listeners what you went through in regards to domestic violence.
Okay. Well, my name is Joan, and I was in a relationship with a man for about 2 years. And initially going in, of course, you never go into a situation thinking it's going to lead to domestic violence. But looking back, there were tons of signs and signals that was a possibility. Initially going in, always wanted to have my attention, always wanted me on the phone all day. You think it's endearing. You're like, oh, it's a really cool guy. He's really into me. But it's really a control thing as to monitor who you're talking to and what's going on. So throughout the course of our relationship, maybe after a year in, I found out some things about him I didn't know. Clearly, I hadn't done all of the research I thought I had done. And it led to always accusing me of cheating and always accusing me of doing things that we were together 24/7. So it was virtually impossible. But as a woman, and I don't know if Charlotte can speak to this, you kind of know when people start accusing you of things that you know you're not doing. 9 times out of 10 is their guilty conscience that's acting out. And that's what happened. It was him that was actually cheating and doing all this other stuff. So it ended with I confronted him about it, and he beat the crap out of me. There were things throughout the relationship. He had put his hands on me, and then it was always the I'm sorry, and I'm working on myself, and you're always so quick to leave me. And, I tried to stick it out because I felt like, maybe he really is trying to change. But the straw that broke the camel's back was he beat the crap out of me to the point I was bruised from head to toe, broke my phone, took my car keys, drove me around in like a desolate neighborhood. And I thought he was going to kill me. I jumped out of the car with no shoes on, ran to the first house I could find. No one was home. I ultimately had to get back in the car with him, go home, and over the course of an evening, continue to endure physical abuse. So when I finally was able to leave, when he went to work, I was able to leave, and I didn't speak to him for about 30 days. He kept calling. I'll go to counseling, whatever it takes. And I was in a dumb situation. Didn't call the authorities, didn't report it. So in October, he called me, and we have a dog, and he asked me to come by and get the dog. He said that if he was going to give the dog away. So in my head, naively, I go to the house because I'm thinking, it's been a month. Things have kind of died down. Nothing's happened. When I get there, he goes outside, and I'm playing with the dog. I'm trying to get the dog stuff together. He comes in the house, and he just asked me, what's up? I'm like, nothing. I left my car running, my phone in the car, everything. He then says, so you don't have anything else to say to me? And I said, no, I just came to get the dog. He jumps up off the couch and comes toward me in an aggressive manner, and I already knew what it was about. So I put my hand up, and I was like, I didn't come here for that. I can just leave. And as I go to the front door, he blocks me from leaving. This guy is 6'3", 235 pounds. I'm 5'5". So I immediately run to the back door, try to open the back door. I remember screaming for help. This was like 9:15 in the morning, and I woke up in the hospital at 4:30 that afternoon. Face covered in blood, face split completely open from my lip to my cheek, my tooth knocked out. And then the police tell me that I was in police custody because he reported that I had tried to break in his house and stab him. So with me not reporting anything, he had actually gone and taken out a protective order, say that Thursday. I had never been served, didn't know anything about it. So when the police show up and I'm unconscious on the floor, he presents his protective order, which makes them think, he didn't let her in the house. And I had to go through going to jail, $8,000 to $10,000 worth of legal fees, and it was just a mess.
How was that ultimately adjudicated, like as far as the court side?
Court side is horrible, and this is what I will tell you about. This is what I want to encourage any woman that's going through this. When it happens, report it. Because if you don't have anything to show, I had pictures and stuff, but I'm saying if you have no police reports or anything, the tables were actually turned against me, and he was showing up to court with victim advocates as if he was the victim. And I ended up, after spending about 7 months in jail, because when I went for my bond hearing, he said that he was in fear for his life. So everybody bought the story, and I ended up spending about 7 months in jail until I finally had my day in court. When I went to court, I did end up plea because I was facing 5 years in prison for attempted malicious wounding, breaking and entering in the daytime with the intent to harm, like all of these things that were just crazy. And so when you find yourself in that situation, it's like, do I really want to do this time, or do I want to just go home? And all the felony charges were dropped, but when you have to play defense, it's a hard position to be in. And that's where I met Charlotte, because she does her women's empowerment organization at the local jails, and she came and I went to her group. And so that's how I became affiliated with her. But it's any woman that's in that situation, leave and report it, because it doesn't get better.
So Charlotte, Joan comes into your space, if you will, because you're working in the prisons with incarcerated women, and she's, she presents herself, and she's like every other incarcerated woman. Her story is, similar or different in these ways or that ways. What kinds of things do you hear from women who are in Joan's scenario that's telltale signs of abuse?
Well, actually, Joan's scenario is in like that 12% of women who have not experienced like some form of molestation or, just childhood sexual violation. See, because almost 87% of the women that are there have experienced that. And then it's that other percentage where she falls in. So it's not something that I hear regularly.
And so, as you are working with women like Joan or with similar stories or even the dissimilar stories, what kinds of characteristics seem to be common in women who are accepting of abusive relationships or find themselves going down this path frequently?
You find women that have actually been exposed to some type of dysfunction as they were growing up. And if you don't know anything different, that's kind of like what you do, and I only speak from experience because it happened to me. Now, the other part is that I've never been incarcerated in a facility, but I've been incarcerated within myself. And a lot of women are angry. They feel guilty. They feel ashamed. They don't want to talk about it because they think that people are going to start to judge them. And basically that's kind of what I see.
And for me, Maynard, what I will say is this. I grew up seeing my mother in abusive relationships. And I grew up not knowing my father. And so for me, I think those things played a big part in my dynamic because, one, I feel like I didn't have a good role model as for what a man should be. And two, I felt like I watched my mother go in and out of abusive marriages and relationships, and she always went back. And so for me, it was like, okay, even though I know this isn't right and I know this doesn't feel right, maybe I'm being selfish by not sticking it out with somebody. Maybe me leaving is a selfish act. And so that I can speak to that personally.
Is this something that is generational? Because, I have zero experience of being a woman, but what I have seen or have heard is that women have always been, unfortunately, characterized as less than, that they have to be kept in their place, no back talking. And really, especially in our community, in the Black community, there was a time that it was, I think, socially acceptable for a man to hit a woman. You know what I'm saying? And, of course, we all know that that's wrong. But my question is like, how much of that do we put on even some of the men who participate in this behavior because maybe they saw that from what their dad did to their mom? So how do we, go into re-educating, this current and new generation of young men to come? I mean, I know with your focus, it is on the women and being able to understand that. But I think from our perspective, my perspective as a man, it's like, how do we combat that and let these young brothers know that this is not how you treat a woman?
Well, I can speak for the relationships I have with my sons. I have a 26-year-old and a 19-year-old. And I have always made sure I instilled in them the fact that it's not acceptable in any circumstance to put your hands on a woman. And if you get to a point where you feel like you have to put your hands on a woman, that's not the woman you need to be with. You need to walk away from it. And so I have done that since they were small up until now. And I would hope and pray that after they see what I've gone through, that that's even more of a reason for them to never want to do anything like that. And also what I will say, too, is the signs that I personally, when you said that, women not being able to back talk or have an opinion, I received a text message from this man that said to me, you know what, Joan, you're too strong-willed. You're too much of a free thinker. And I want someone that does exactly what I say when I say, and I responded with, you want a pet. And so even in that moment, I knew we were headed down a one-way, it was no good ending for that. But then it becomes the manipulation of when you try to leave, then the threats come and they use different tactics to basically scare you into submission. And my children being threatened was always on the table. So it's not always as easy as people think to walk away from a situation like that when you have other variables involved.
Right.
Charlotte, let me ask you, going kind of expanding on what Lamont was talking about. And you talked about, the behavior on the woman's side. Where is that historic behavior from a man's perspective? Is it insecurity? Is it just control? Is it, generational? What is it that the man is going through that, I want to say provokes, but, allows him to, be a part of this type of behavior?
More often than not, it is a combination of some or all of those. Men as well as women have to have certain things instilled in them. Otherwise, they kind of do what they see, and if we don't educate people on what's right and what's wrong, that's how they fall into that, into those types of behaviors. And on the other hand, you have some men that come from relationships that are dysfunctional, but they kind of maybe get involved with like a mentor or a positive influence and teaches them, no, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to treat my woman like that. So more often than not, it's a combination.
I have a question, and I don't know if you really have any good research on it, but it's extremely personal. So, Joan, you've been through this, and Charlotte, you've been through this 3 times. How do you figure out how to love somebody again? How do you figure out, and I'm not talking about the abuser, but like now you've been through this, and and Charlotte, in fact, you've been through this multiple times, and you still had courage and desire to be with a person, to be with a man. How do you find the ability to love again?
I had to find myself. I had to first love myself, because when you have a low self-esteem, then you almost are like grateful that, somebody wants to be with you, that somebody wants to do certain things with you. And too often, we're willing to settle because of the negative ways we feel about ourselves that we don't always even know it's negative. But generational, that was passed down, that abuse and that molestation, that was spirited from one generation to the next generation. And with the things that I was going through and where it is that God was leading me, showed me something different in the experiences that I had. And I have a daughter, and I just wanted something completely different for her, but I didn't see that right off. I didn't see that I was broken all those years. But when she went to jail, I went through my own level of incarceration because I blame myself. What did I do? What did I not do? What could I have done more of? And it was almost like a revelation that God was preparing me to help other women. And there's just no school that you can go to that will teach, that will help you learn or feel what domestic violence is, what other forms of abuse are. You kind of have to experience that and come out of it in order to teach someone else, in order to be an example of how you too can come out of it. So it was basically just like a revelation of, okay, this is what I have purposed you for. And all I was obedient to what the Spirit was saying to me.
And your obedient spirit in that fashion and finding your purpose led you to a book. Tell us a little bit about the book.
When the women come to my group, they are given personal assignments that they have to think about, read, and write. Well, think, write, and read. And what I did in the book was I answered some of those questions that were relative to me. And so sometimes people go through things and think it's an isolated situation, and it's really not. It's so many people that go through things in their life, and they think they're the only ones. And what I do is just empower them with my life that, I'm not so special that God would only bring me out of this. But that we have to acknowledge that something's not right. We have to acknowledge that we're not happy. We have to acknowledge that our lives are not filled with purpose and joy. And I was on a quest to find that. And I had to be by myself. So that last marriage, I've been single almost 5 years, and it's because I've been finding myself, and I've been walking in my purpose. And so that is the example that
There's so many different depictions of what young girls believe love is and what it isn't. And a lot of them are identifying that love has some sort of abuse attached to it.
I agree with that. And what I would say is this. When I say accepting someone for who and what they are, initially when you get in a relationship, like initially when I was in this relationship, you always send out the person that you want them. You send out the best version of yourself. And you can only keep that up for so long before the real you starts to come out. So initially he swept me off my feet because I'm like, oh my goodness, this is the perfect guy. He's interested in everything I'm interested in. And what you find out is narcissists become exactly what you want them to be. They listen to your every word, and they become who you want them to be. But they can only keep it up for so long. So when I found out that this man had been incarcerated for 9 years, I was already I was already into the relationship. And so it's like, for me, I'm like, well, everybody has a past, and he's not this person to me. You see what I'm saying? But what that manifests itself into is, all he knows when a problem arises, the only thing he knows is aggression and anger, because that's what his formative years were spent, 9 years in the penitentiary, where there's no talking. If someone violates you in any way, it's an automatic situation. So for me, when I say accepting who they are, it's fine to say, you know what, I love you, but I don't really think this is going to work, because you know what you're capable of dealing with, and you know what you're going to deal with. And I think if everyone's honest about that, it's okay to walk away from a situation that doesn't serve you or that you know really isn't for you.
And how do you walk away from that when you are in fear of your life or that person is in a controlling state of mind?
Well, clearly I didn't fine-tune that method. But looking back on it, I would have definitely gone and reported the abuse to the authorities, because at the end of the day, that's the only, really and truly, that's the safest option you have. Because I think women in that situation, we often find ourselves protecting our abuser. And every woman I've ever spoken to has always taken on the role that even though they're doing this to me, I still don't want anything bad to happen to them.
I think what I hear is, what is the alternative? Like, if I leave, then he might hurt me or he might do something else to me. He's hurting you anyway, so,
exactly.
He might kill me if I leave. He's killing you. He's doing it a little bit at a time, but he's killing you. And Lamont, you said something a moment ago about how it used to be acceptable. And Spudd, you talked about the music. But if we go back and look at some old movies like Humphrey Bogart and all that stuff, it wasn't just it's not just our culture. People in those cultures in this 20s, 30s, 40s, they smacked women in movies all the time, and the woman would be thankful.
Oh yeah.
That was, Humphrey Bogart, and it may not be Humphrey Bogart, but the woman would be talking, Johnny, don't do this, Johnny, and he would just shut up and say, oh, Johnny, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I never seen that movie, by the way. I never seen that movie.
Maynard.
I mean, I've seen several of those old black and white movies that happened.
Yes, so you're right. You are correct.
Charlotte, so again with the book, give us the title and how people can get it, and then and we'll also let people know that there are resources out there for help.
Sure. The book is called Unchained: Breaking Through Barriers. It's by C. Williams, and it's available at Amazon.com. And there's also a workbook that I got published, and that covers a lot of how to determine a healthy relationship and an unhealthy relationship. What are some signs that women can look out for? And basically it's both women and men, because men do get abused as well. But it's just a tool for empowerment, empowering yourself. And both of those are available at Amazon.com.
And for those,
I wanted to add one thing before we wrap up. I wanted to say that, like I said, affiliated with Charlotte because I took her group when I was in jail. And I can say that initially when I went, it was just an escape for me to get away from everything that was going on. And I may have gone in there half-heartedly, like, okay, whatever. But I think she can attest to this. As I began to do the assignments and I started writing the assignments and really focusing on what my issues were, because it's not always one-sided. We contribute to situations as well. And for me, I think my entire life, I didn't want to be like my mother for so long that I initially morphed into my mother. And I know that my superpower is my mouth. I will cut you to shreds. And everybody isn't equipped to handle that. I know I can't physically beat you, but I can tear you down and make you feel less than. And you can't do that to people. And so when I started digging through my own stuff and looking at myself, I became a completely different person. And because I believe in the organization that she's founded and the work that she does, I want my story to count for something. I don't feel like I went through all that just to have endured it and come out on the other side and keep it to myself.
Right.
So I just want to say that it's important for people to look around and take notice of what's going on, because you never know what someone's story is. Because if it can happen to me, I feel like it can happen to anybody.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people, they often say, go to church, go to Bible study. I'm not saying that isn't a good component, but that's not all that there is. When you go to church, you're not really in a position.
All right, welcome back to Three Black Guys with the Mic, now on WOVU 95.9 Cleveland. Spudd, Lamont, Maynard, thank you so very much to Charlotte Williams and Joan Lee for being a part of this conversation, talking about domestic violence. It's extremely important that you get help if you are in that situation. We want to move the conversation on to the midterms, which is about 2 weeks away. And I want to really dive into the importance, because we kind of talked at the beginning of the show about Negroes and black people. And again, we're not trying to be offensive. We're just trying to be real. And we really want for everybody to be able to show up. I want to start with you, Maynard, on the importance of this election. We all know that when it comes to local elections, that the numbers drop. People show up for the presidential elections, especially when we talk about somebody that somebody likes and when they're popular. But the importance of this particular election that's coming up in 2 weeks, what is so important about this particular election?
I think a lot of people have, look, first of all, let's say this. We have zero check on the president at this point. The Republican Party, it runs the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, and the White House. And people are frustrated. Many people are, and rightfully so. And many people are not frustrated. Many people voted for Donald Trump and want his agenda to go forward. And that's fine. Everybody has their own thing. If you want to vote for a can of paint, that's your business. But I think that the individuals who really feel most frustrated by the Trump administration and by the Republican Party's hold on Congress, the House and Senate, and all those things, the people who feel like there are things in the balance, whether it's health care, whether it's a woman's right to choose, whether it's the minimum wage fight, or whatever it may be. Immigration. And there's several. There are topics for everyone. The LGBTQ community has issues that they want addressed. We as African Americans, as well as other people, other types of minorities, want to protect and defend the concept of affirmative action. But I think, actually, if we really think about it, one of the most important things that we want to right, the most important wrong we want to right or prevent from continue to slide further wrong, is we want to protect the right for us to have to just continue to have an opportunity to vote. And we know that in Georgia there are several people who are 53,000, I think is the number of voter registrations that have been thrown out or put on hold or somehow being disenfranchised. There's a million people in Florida who have served their time, went to prison for some crime and served their time, but they continue to pay a price by being basically told that they're not citizens any longer because you don't have the right to vote, which is something that everyone who achieves 18 years of age has, guaranteed by the Constitution. But these tricky laws find us put in a position where we don't have our rights. So whatever the issues are that you feel like the Republican Party, be it Congress, in the House and Senate, or the president or the Supreme Court, is going to prevent you from enjoying, then that's your reason to vote. Everybody has their own reason, but you find yours. And if you think that you really want to restrict a woman's right to choose, if you're against abortion all the way, or if you don't want health care or what, that's your business as well. But most of us as African Americans typically do vote Democratic, and those are things that we are interested in having those wrongs righted.
So let's talk about, the black people and Democrats and the blue wave and, voting straight party ticket. Is that something that we should focus on in this election, voting straight party ticket? When you talk about voting straight Democrat?
I disagree with voting straight party ticket. Just as a measure of saying I'm just going to vote for this person because he is a Democrat. I have not in my life voted for a Republican, but I've always tried to vote for people that I've researched and asked questions about and try to find out, do I agree with this person? So I don't think it's wise to just decide because this person's a Republican or a Democrat or they're independent or whatever, that's enough for them to get your vote. At the same time, you don't want to throw away your vote or discard your opportunity to participate, meaning a no vote is a vote for the person in the opposite party. So,
Lamar, how many Republicans have you voted for?
Well, I'm so glad that you put that in there, because as we're allowing Maynard to pontificate and pontificate and pontificate.
Love that pontificate word,
yeah,
boy.
Can we go back to something that Maynard said? And it makes me sound like I'm a Donald Trump supporter.
You are. It's okay.
But
you're enjoying your tax cut.
You said that right now Donald Trump has zero. Help me out. You said zero.
There's no check on the president.
Yeah. There's no check on the president.
Right.
So when I said to you several shows ago when Donald Trump was winning, isn't that kind of like winning? When you have zero check?
Hey, I thought your question to him, Spudd, was how many Republicans has he voted for?
And we're going to get to that, but I want to make sure we have an understanding. And then I want to further go to what Spudd said about, and I'm glad he said that, about voting straight Democratic ticket, because historically that's been something that we've done, which, again, I'm glad that you said that doesn't make sense, because it's almost like, we talk about voting, but I think that being an informed voter is just as important as voting.
That's the
and
most
some people
important
just,
part. Yeah.
Yes, people just go in and they click Democrat this, Democrat that, and just kind of hope for the best.
They get the sticker and then they come, they do the selfie and then they're gone.
Exactly. And those kind of things, definitely on a local level, are just as harmful, if not more, than when you're dealing with something that you're dealing with Donald Trump. Because in my opinion, there are a lot of people that vote that are not really, go ahead, Maynard, cringe when I'm getting ready to say this. They're almost not.
Oh, you're doing a little jig over there.
They don't have enough in the barrel to even be on that.
Stop. That's a horrible thing to say.
I got you. Go ahead.
So we should.
I got to get at you, man. You're the bear, and I got to poke you.
What we do recall from our history books.
Okay.
What we do recall is that blacks regularly had to pass what they call poll tests.
Absolutely.
To vote,
right.
And so that meant that you had to have a certain amount on the ball, as Lamont would say, in order to vote. And there's some things that you might just say offhand that I need to just, I don't know everything about this, but I am going to go in this direction simply because of one thing I do know. So, for instance, if you know that in, say, for instance, Georgia or Kansas, that the Republican Party is actively squelching the votes of African Americans, if they're actively squelching they're actively trying to suppress the vote, then you have to ask you just simplicity. I don't know if I'm for abortion or against abortion or whatever. I'm not sure, but I know that if I'm given the right to vote and you're trying to take it from me or you're trying to prevent me from voting, that I probably should vote against you. That's just simplicity's sake.
And I'm not saying that you're wrong, but can we go a little bit more basic here? Can we say that we do have a large contingency in our community that need to be taught how to vote?
Absolutely.
I would say we have a large contingency in America, not our community. There are tons of people.
Earlier offline, we said we were supposed to worry about us for a minute. Let's just deal with us for a minute, right? So in 2018, now I don't know how it was in 1988 or 78 or 68, but in 2018, no matter what state, city, county that you live in, you can get on this little machine, this little computer, this little laptop,
the Google machine,
and you can get your ballot. You can see what's what. You can see what.
You can actually do it on your phone.
You can do it on your phone. You can do the research and instead of saying, and I heard somebody say this, is that the election day is when? November the 6th, right?
Correct. Yep.
That actually is a lie because people can vote now. So election day started on the day when you're able to vote. Right?
Early voting, right? Not every state has every early voting, but
absolutely. And I'm just saying that, and that's a whole other thing we can talk about later. Is that how every state has all these different rules and regulations. But what I'm saying is that I just feel like so many people don't do the research on the other things that are on the ballot and the other things that affect them in their community. We need to talk about that. So, Spudd, that goes into what you said. And whether we want to admit it or not, where I live, there are some Republicans that are doing some things in my community for the roads that we got to support. Because if I hit another pothole, the insurance company for my rims and tires at the dealership is like, hey, man, get out of here. You know what I'm saying? These rims, so from that perspective, all of that Donald Trump talk in the House and the Senate, that's cool. But I got to worry about the roads in my community. I got to worry about the schools in my community. I need to be worried about the local judges in my area that, I got to make sure they have me and my best interest at heart if I'm going to check the box for those guys. And
true.
Yes,
very true.
Some of them are Republican. Now, if we want to talk about what we want to do and who we want to send to the House and to the Senate, that still comes from my local voting environment, my local area of having an understanding of what's what. Instead of always worrying about what T-Rump is doing and how, everybody gets so upset.
Hold on.
And I'm not saying, but Maynard, we don't do enough of the local conversation, in my opinion, for some people to even be talking about T-Rump. Let's worry about your neighborhood first. Okay. And then you can graduate and talk about T-Rump.
Maynard, before you start, yes, you said this in show 2. You ain't got to bring it up. We know you said that in show 2 that the local elections is, important. Look now.
Look now. Look, Maynard. Spudd.
Okay, you ain't got to gloat.
Go ahead, Maynard.
No,
you said that.
This is not about gloating.
Show number 2. But let me ask you this, right?
Show number 2.
You're right, Lamont.
Show number 2.
See?
You're right. But this also is going to have something to do with voter turnout, right? How important is that? I mean, I think 2014, it was like 37% turnout, 42% turnout in 2010. How important is voter turnout going to be in this election?
Voter turnout is critical. Or were you asking Lamont? Or were you speaking to me? But anyhow,
anybody, but you can go.
Voter turnout is going to be critical. You got to think, if somebody is trying to suppress your vote, then there's something important about your vote. So you want to exercise that. And, there are going to be people who are going to say, oh, it doesn't affect me, or my vote doesn't make a difference, or whatever the case may be. You know what? If you don't vote, you have no cause to say anything. Just stay out of it. Just, you know what? In fact, if you don't vote,
Kanye.
leave. Just right, Kanye. You didn't vote. Shut up. So, but the main thing is we have to show up and make our voice heard. Now, there's some other pieces that are critical about voting that we need to know. All right, not just that we are voting to make sure that the guy who wants, as Lamont is talking about, make sure that we get the stop signs in the right places or the potholes, and that's the mayor and city council more than likely, or that the school systems, maybe your local school board or maybe your state, are funded properly or what have you. Or not that we are voting for the president or whatever. There's some other pieces that go into it. Most often, jury roles, people who wind up serving as jurors, that in many states, they come from the voting rolls. So if we start looking and saying we're having a difficult time understanding why the justice system is not for us, or we're unfairly penalized in the justice system, one of the things that we can do is vote for judges, and vote for state attorneys, and vote for Commonwealth or local attorneys or what have you to either become judges or work in the prosecutor's office. But that also puts your name on the jury roll. So when the jury is called, more people who have voted most often are the people who show up on the jury roll. So when we look at Trayvon Martin and the unfortunate, what I think is an unfortunate verdict that let George Zimmerman go free, one of the things I think about is where were the black men in the community that should have voted and would have probably changed the jury pool of that case. That's important. So that's another thing. And we also have to participate in the census. And I know we're discussing voting, but these types of participations and showing up is important to help build our communities, to get schools in our communities, to get the right governors, and et cetera. Now, the last thing I'll say is it is important that we discuss what T. Rump is doing for our local schools and for what we do when we get ready to go to college, because, I, like a lot of people, have federal student loans, and those are administered by the Department of Education at the federal level. And if I don't get rich, or my daughter doesn't get rich or earns a great scholarship in 7, 8, 9 years when she's ready to go to school, she will also probably have to receive some federal student loan or federal aid of some sort. It may in fact be a Pell Grant, but they continue to cut those things back. So we have to be cognizant that, yes, at the federal level, they do not put stop signs on our streets. They do not fill potholes. But what they do affect, and this is a lot of what we have to remember, is they do affect our everyday. Sometimes those effects aren't felt today, but what's going to happen if you look off, for instance, in the state of Florida, where they have something called red bloom now, where the water all around Florida, which is Florida's greatest selling point, is filled with red bloom algae. And so somebody can continue to say that global warming isn't an issue and pollution is not that big of a deal. And then 4, 5, 6, 7 years later, we find that the air quality sucks. That does affect us. We find that the water quality sucks. That does affect us. We find that that colleges are shutting down because the federal student aid program won't help people get into college. That does affect us at a local level.
Lamont, you talked about Gucci Mane, you talked about T.I., you talked about all those people when Doug Jones was actually, running for Senate in Alabama, and how important it was for, local Atlanta rappers to actually get out and vote. I see a lot of, I don't know if I see a lot of local Atlanta rappers participating in the voting process. I do see, shout out to Shaka Zulu and Ludacris, and, T.I. is always on the ground, but how important is it for the hip hop community to rally around in, Barack Obama, when, we had Puffy and we had, Russell Simmons, as well as Kevin Liles, and, the whole Vote or Die campaign. And I think he did it with John Kerry as well. That's where the, Schultz came out. That actually energized the hip hop community to actually go out and vote. Do we see that right now, or are we missing the mark when it comes to hip hop and the vote?
I think a lot of the people that you name are kind of some of the elder statesmen now in hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And I know you didn't mention one of Maynard's favorites, Killer Mike.
Killer Mike, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Killer Mike do anything.
Maynard, we love Killer Mike, but
I love Killer Mike. I haven't seen him. I haven't seen him do anything or rally for anybody, and so I just missed that. But cool. I just don't know if I see that national wave when Diddy did the Vote or Die, and even though it was about merchandise, but you got that energy of I want a shirt, but I also still want to go to the poll.
Yeah, but again, I feel, that 10 or 12 years ago, whenever that was, Puffy might have been a certain part of his career. Now, if you're telling me that Lil Yachty or Lil Pump or Tekashi 6ix9ine, I don't know if those guys are Travis Scott giving that same younger 20-something energy to those people that are consuming that music. Nah, it's not there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I mean, it shouldn't be. I mean, Puffy was kind of like still the, elder statements. But I mean, you would think you would see a J. Cole, a Kendrick Lamar. You would see those, leading the charge.
Well, I would say this though. We have some new voices that are inserting themselves, right?
Who are they, man?
LeBron James is, and he may not be.
But he's not in hip hop.
Yeah,
right, he's part of the hip hop culture. Is he not part of the hip hop culture? He's got this.
He is a part of the hip hop culture, but I don't know if I see LeBron out there like, hell no, we won't go. Vote or die. I don't see him doing that.
I think nobody is going to necessarily take Puffy's approach to anything. Puffy is a very creative and unique individual, and he's going to do how he does. But everybody's approach to this is different, and LeBron's doing something, or we can sit here and say that this person, because they don't have a record, then they're not hip hop. But if you're part of the hip hop community, you're part of the community. Like, we're part of the community, and we're talking about it. Are we not part of it?
No, I got you, man. But you're kind of, again, this is part of your hijacking tactic. If you go back to the initial question, Spudd listed a number of recording artists in the hip hop community. So I think that's kind of where he was. If you want to talk about hip hop overall, then, we could talk about the different elements. We could talk about some break dancers that may be involved in politics, some graffiti artists that are impossible. He didn't say that. He was.
Yeah, I mean, I see Steve Stout. I mean, I saw him, he did his interview in Atlanta, and I thought that, he's like, no, I'll never run for politics, but I am going to do my part to make sure that people are aware of the fact of how important it is to, to vote.
Does Steve Stout count?
Yeah, of course he.
So
he
Lamont,
counts.
how many records does Steve Stout rap?
No. We're going back to his question.
Yeah, but did Steve Stout have a record?
No. What you did was.
Did I bring up Steve Stout? Can I finish?
Well, no, I was kind of.
No,
Spudd.
Spudd.
So I was piggybacking off of Lamont in the sense of Steve
Spudd,
Stout said it, but he's not directly. Steve Stout influences me. He doesn't influence my son.
Yeah, but
Lil Wayne, which is a bad example.
Can I get this? Spudd, I need you to back up for a minute. Let me get this. Maynard, he was very specific, and you broadened the conversation. Now the conversation is broadened to include a hip-hop community. Now LeBron is allowed to come in. The initial question, LeBron or Steve, was not allowed because Spudd only asked about hip-hop recording artists.
All right, so
Steve... Okay, let's everybody forget everything that we just said for the last 3 minutes. Okay, go, Maynard, go. Bring it, LeBron James now. No, now you can bring him in.
Yeah, LeBron, you can come in now.
It's okay for LeBron. LeBron, come on and tell us about voting.
Listen,
I do have to ask this because I want to kind of break this down to the lowest common denominator. The blue wave. We've talked about the blue wave. Maynard, what does the blue wave mean to black people? That's what I want to know.
I think
somebody who's listening to this, they don't understand what worldwide need to go out and vote. Everybody talk about this blue wave, Democrats, Republicans. What does that mean for black folks?
Well, first, I think it really should be the other way around, and I'm not trying to hijack it, but I think it's not what the blue wave means to blacks, but what blacks mean to the blue wave, meaning our voice can be heard. So here are the things. Again, just go back. Do you support and want Donald Trump and the Republican Party, which is the Republicans are red, the Democrats are blue? Do you want them to continue to be in control of the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, and the White House? And
okay, I'm going to stop you along the way only because I just really want to break this down to the person who never has voted before, doesn't understand your, educational philosophy on red, blue, House, Senate. The average person probably doesn't understand it. And the reason why I asked her about what does this mean for black folks is because the average black person already, I don't want to say the average, most black people already are, my vote doesn't count, right? it doesn't even make any sense for me to go out and vote because my vote does not count. Doesn't matter if I vote for Democrat or Republican. And that's the reason why I want to kind of make sure that we're sticking it to them, pause, as much as we can, so that way they understand just on the elementary level, that they understand the importance of, if I go out and vote and I vote for a Democrat, this is what this means for me.
So I think what you have to consider is this. If you don't know much about voting, don't know why you should vote, or never cared about voting in the past, ask yourself, what do you prefer to see in this world? That's reasonable, right? And someone can go out there tomorrow and say, no one has to ever work again. We're going to give everybody money. Well, obviously, you can vote for that person, but you'll never be able to get that done. But we do know, if you've been able to vote for a number of years and just haven't, that health care got passed under Barack Obama. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't the best. It was the best goods first step. And if you believe that, that as a mother of a young man or a young woman, and you're 40 and your kid is ready to go to college and you want to make sure that they're covered and you have health care available, that maybe it might take them a few years to graduate. You want them to be covered, then you want health care. If you want health care, then you want the Democratic Party. If you don't care about health care or care about pre-existing conditions or care about carrying your child on your insurance policy to 26 and you think, hey, your kid's best insurance policy is to try not to get hurt insurance policy, then don't vote. Or vote for the Republicans. If you want to say, I want to really have an opportunity at the American dream, for instance, you want to be able to maybe rely on the FHA for first-time homebuyer programs. You should know that the Democrats are protecting that. The Democrats are looking for ways to make sure that first-time homebuyer programs are plentiful and available. Where, on the other hand, Republicans often look at those programs and say, maybe we should cut those programs. Maybe we should, look for ways. If you want to protect Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and you may very well need some aid for families like SNAP benefits for food, or you may need the Section 8 program or public housing. If you want to, preserve those things for people who find themselves falling in the gaps. A lot of people live a life where they never, ever have to worry about being on public assistance, where they never have to ever worry about living in the projects or in Section 8. But many people fall in the gaps. They lose jobs or they have medical crises or whatever the case may be. And for a time, they need to use these services. If you believe that those services should be protected, then you want to probably vote for a Democrat. If you don't care about that and you think, hey, that's never going to be a problem for me, and so I don't want my money to ever go there, then you can vote for a Republican. But there are lots of reasons why, and everybody's life has certain factors that drive them to vote a certain way. But I think in general, if we believe in the collective community of the African American community as a part of the American community, then we don't think that people should be forced out on the street. We don't think that children should go hungry. We don't think that because you get sick and have some medical condition that you should never have health care. We believe that whether you're Christian, you're Muslim, or what have you, or Jewish, or don't believe in God at all, whether you're black, white, Korean, etc., that if your child is born with cerebral palsy, that your child should be able to receive insurance to help you deal with the medical conditions. We believe that that children shouldn't starve just because their parents are not wealthy or working two jobs just trying to make ends meet. So those are things that I think that Democrats typically believe in, and we have to do a good job of telling that message to people.
Lamont, you want to expand on that?
Not at all. No.
That was a little educated. So for those who on the, not that educated. So, if you are basically in Florida's case, if you are down with gun safety, overturning stand your ground, employment, criminal justice reform, then you're going to be on the Andrew Gillum side. If you are against immigration and you are about the Everglades and about tax cuts, then you're going to be on the Rick DeSantis side. I mean, so you really do have to take your phone and actually just look up the individual and just read over it or ask somebody. I mean, pick up the phone and ask somebody and just say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. Kind of go back to what Maynard was saying earlier. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't know how I'm supposed to vote. Get educated. And then that way, you have a better understanding of why you should go to the polls. Let me just say this and we'll wrap this up. So if there's a blue wave, November 6th, what does this do for 2020? Will this set up, or how does this set up a Cory Booker, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden? I mean, how does this set them up for 2020 if there is a blue wave, and what does it do if there isn't one?
Well, I think it happens before 2020. If you get a blue wave, if the Democrats win the House and do so resoundingly, if the Democrats take over the Senate, then here are some things that do happen. First, I think we'll start to see the investigations pick up. When Devin Nunes was chairing the investigations committee, and he was just out here just setting his hair on fire and acting like Trump is, was his puppet master. And I don't think anybody believes that the House or Senate investigations of the hack on our elections have been fully heard out, except in the House and the Senate. We know that Robert Mueller's still doing his thing. So I think we will find that there will be additional investigations where truth will be sought after. So that's A. That begins to happen November 7th, So that's one thing we should be mindful of. Also, it takes momentum and energy moving in a direction, and we know that this happens quite often. Most presidents lose the House in the first midterms and give away or cede the Senate over the next 2 years to 4 years. And so the people who are discussing the concepts of impeachment might start to really have something to really talk about if the House and the Senate go to the Democrats. Now, how does it bode for the presidential candidates of 2020? I think the Democrats got a long way to go to have a great candidate for 2020. I think what's going to have to happen is we're going to have to take back not only the House and the Senate, but probably even gubernatorial races, governor races, and mayoral races to show that we can, as Democrats, win statewide elections across the country. And if that happens, then we'll see a strengthening. And does that mean it's Cory Booker? I don't think it's Cory Booker. It might be Kamala Harris. It might be Joe Biden. It might be Elizabeth Warren. It might be somebody we don't even know yet.
I'm going to go with Lamont's philosophy, man. We got to get a little gutter. Anytime when I see the president go from Lion Ted to, what do you call him now? Blessed Ted or, something Ted. What is he now? When he's like, yo, I don't care. I called you Lion Ted. And Ted Cruz is like, fine. I just want to win this seat. Come on down here and campaign for me. Anytime that they play ball like that and there's nobody down there doing the same thing for Beto O'Rourke or whatever. Right. Yeah, when there's nobody out there doing the same thing. And I understand. I'm with the Issa Rae. I'm rooting for everything black. So I ain't mad at Kamala Harris. I ain't mad at Cory Booker in Atlanta doing their thing. I ain't mad. I'm rooting for everything black too. But Texas is a big state.
So Spudd, let me ask you a question. And I know Maynard, says he's going to wrap it up, but you know how Maynard goes. Remember we all had to talk about our favorite movie, and some of us voted for Godfather. Some of us said 1, others said 2. Nobody said 3. And I think it was in 2. And they were sitting at the table. No, they weren't sitting at the table. One of the scenes where they said, or it was said, when you lay down with dogs,
you wake up with fleas.
You wake up with fleas. Donald Trump said this the other day, and I saw on his interview he did with 60 Minutes. He admitted that politics is worse, or it's a more ruthless business than where he came from in terms of real estate. And we got to understand what politics really is. It almost is the bottom of the bottom. And I'm glad you said that, because to be in a game like that, this whole kumbaya, we're going to be nice and not get no fleas on you, it's just not going to work, because there's not going to be any blue wave. It's going to be a couple seats going to move, but it's that wave, we talked about that too. It's no wave because Donald Trump, as we speak, is talking foolishness. Even when him and his homeboy Pat Roberts, when they said, listen, we know y'all had a little journalist die, but whatever, we ain't about to mess up this money. That's what he said. And Pat Robertson pretty much said the same thing. Hey, man, I hear you, dog. I'm sorry, but we ain't going to mess up the money. What Corey going to do? What Elizabeth going to do? What Kamala? No, we got to do the right thing. We got to do X, Y, and Z. But what T-Rump and his crew talking about? Hey, man, we ain't about to mess up this money.
Yeah, because the bigger question is remember when what's the name, when Cedric the Entertainer was talking about we ain't ready for no black president? Because he was like, sometimes somebody says to me, hey, dog, you can't talk like that. You can't talk like that to me in front of my family, dog.
No.
In front of my family, dog.
But you know what,
the
Lamont?
moment that, what is Cory Booker going to do the moment that Donald Trump says something about Cory Booker?
On the quiet, Donald Trump might call him the N-word, bro.
He ain't going to go that far. But he might.
Okay.
He might be like, yo.
Wait a minute, who's the boy down in Florida when they called him a monkey? Don't monkey this up.
That's Rick DeSantis who said, don't monkey this up.
Andrew
You don't want for around Andrew Gillum.
I mean, that's close.
Hold on though, but Lamont, let me just follow up on what you said. We ain't gonna mess up the money. I was watching an interview the other day where this woman was saying, I don't like the way Donald Trump speaks, and I'm disappointed in so much that he does, but my money is looking better and better every day, so I'm okay with that. And what I hear people saying is, you know what? The money is more important than anything else. Okay, cool. You think the money is more important? So if, Spudd, to better answer your question about why should somebody vote, if the money is more important than anything else, if Donald Trump goes out here and says, I can put an extra $15 billion into the economy and everybody can get rich and get paid and everybody can be happy if y'all just let me bring back slavery. If everybody is sitting back here saying, well, don't mess up the money, and you not voting, guess what could happen?
I love black people, but I hate Negroes. And I'm sorry to say, Maynard, some Negroes might be like, you gonna run me that money?
Yeah.
Right. But
because in some sense, unfortunately, some of Negroes are living in slavery already.
Yes.
They don't even know.
Right.
And
so what's going to happen is he's not even talking to us. He's going to talk to his base. The black people who are going to get taken care of if Donald Trump decides that he's going to do that? Candace Owens, Kanye West, and Ben Carson. Maybe Jim Brown. They might let Jim Brown be Stephen.
But the sad part about it is that he's okay with that.
Right? Why are you throwing shots at Candace, bro? What are you doing? What's going on with that?
You're not feeling Candace? She's a cutie girl.
No, man. Man, threw a shot at her. You threw a shot at her.
She's cute. I mean, she's definitely a beautiful woman. I have no problem with her being attractive, but she is a hardcore hater of what we're doing out here as black folks. She thinks that.
I agree.
Okay, so then why can't I throw shots at that?
I just wanted to make sure you were able to defend your position, brother.
Oh, okay. All right. But she's fine. She's fine as fire, though. I mean, I can't front her.
Let's not talk about fine now. She's okay. She's like a puppy. She's cute.
She's a puppy?
Yeah, she's like a. No. Puppies are cute. You know what I mean? Fine is. We can get in that debate later.
You're not equivaling her to a female dog, are you?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I said
we'll come back with Care and Don't Care. We'll be right back right after this. You're listening to the Three Black Guys with Mike on 95.9.
No more boys will be boys.
No more, what's the big deal?
No more, it's just the way he is.
No more, he just has a temper.
No more, but he's such a nice guy.
No more, but he has such a bright future.
No more. Not my problem.
No more. I'll say something next time.
No more. Why didn't she tell anyone?
No more. Why doesn't she just leave?
No more. I'm sure they'll work it out.
No more. She seems fine to me.
No more. What was she wearing?
No more. She was drunk.
No more. He was drunk.
No more. She was asking for it.
No more. She never said no.
No more, not in this family.
No more, not on this team.
No more, we don't talk about that.
No more bystanding.
No more ignorance.
No more excuses.
No more.
Now, wait a minute.
Go.
Wait a minute. Welcome back to Three Black Guys with the Mic. We got to do Care or Don't Care. This is the news stories that are going on in the world that we might care about or we might not care about. So Netflix is action shows. Orange is the New Black, Luke Cage, Rev Run show. First of all, I didn't even know Rev Run even had a show on Netflix. That goes to show you how that was a bad. You care or don't care? Is that a care? Or...
Lamont, did you hear what I heard?
Yeah, I heard what you heard, but was he asking me if I cared or?
Look, you don't care about Luke Cage?
Man,
I don't care, man.
First of all,
you don't care about Luke Cage?
Well, let me say this about Luke Cage.
You don't care about Rev Run?
No. Let me say this about.
The New Black?
No, let me finish. Let me get this out, bro. Now, the Rev Run, because I'm down with Run's house, but I saw the first episode of the Washingtons or whatever the name. I was like, what is this? And I turned it off. So Rev knew that was wrong out the gate. You know what I'm saying? That's y'all just went and got a quick little Netflix check, and that's cool. I get it. But you got to go back to what made you, you know what I'm saying? We need you in the bathtub. You know, you got to be on the iPhone 10. You know what I'm saying? Because the Blackberries is over with. You know what I'm saying?
I really want a BlackBerry, man. I miss my BlackBerry.
I hear you, brother. The experience I just had with this iPhone and Verizon, and that's another story. But Luke Cage, I mean, it's like, I mean, there's so much entertainment out here, bro.
Luke Cage is not one of them?
I mean, what you want me to do? Whatever, dude. Like, I'm almost 50. I don't watch cartoons. You know what I'm saying?
Maynard?
What? Luke Cage, Orange. I liked Orange the first two seasons. I'm not big on sci-fi stuff or comic book stuff. Luke Cage is like a comic book joint, right?
Yeah, it's a cartoon, bro, with real people. How about that?
Yeah. No, I don't. No, I guess the answer is don't care. Sorry.
Yeah.
Melania Trump said that she wants to boycott T.I. Over the video that he did with the Melania lookalike. Care or don't care?
Melania Trump should boycott T.I. She should not buy any of his records. That's about it. Melania do not buy.
Anyway.
Right.
But she wasn't going to do anyway.
So what is the big deal?
So let me ask you a question. So the First Lady of the United States of America has solo nudes, girl-on-girl nudes, and is there any video out, you think?
I don't know, and I'm not going to go look for it.
Okay, I was just wondering. So was she a stripper, or did she just, like, get down with...
She was a model.
Okay. So
there's several models down the street right now with a place where they have wings and beer.
Yeah, and great calamari, you know,
right.
or lamb chops with the zip sauce. You know what I'm saying?
And they're not. There's no pictures allowed, but you certainly can tip them for their modeling. Yes.
Yeah. So she never was a stripper. She just did nudes.
She was. I don't think she was a stripper. I have never heard that she was a stripper. Put it like that.
Okay, gotcha.
But she did do a bunch of nudes, which required her to strip her clothes off.
Okay, I just was curious.
Hold on, Lamont. Therefore, she was a stripper.
What does that have to do with that? What does that have to do with T.I.'s video?
Well,
is T.I. not being disrespectful?
No, T.I.'s from Atlanta. Atlanta has.
So she should be happy at the fact that.
No, what he's doing is, you know, he's embracing his culture of Atlanta and the strip club culture. So he's actually elevating the First Lady and her history of nudes and or possibly stripping.
So he's not disrespectful?
No, it's an admiration thing.
If that was Michelle, would that be disrespectful?
It would be disrespectful. Because
but did Michelle have any?
She never did
that.
Have any?
Yeah, she got any girl-on-girl nudes?
Well, that got to do with anything. That should not have anything to do with the fact that she's still the First Lady of the United States. Lamont, you said that the wives is off limits.
She had nudes, bruh, in the New York Post. Nudes. Girl-on-girl nudes. I just like saying it. She got real frontal nudes, bruh.
No, there is. I mean, there's the girl on girl is. They're touching.
Yes,
they're touching. They're.
Yeah.
Hold on for a second.
Yeah. I mean, this is the first lady of the United States of America, who, by the way, her parents. What was it, Maynard? What's the migration?
Chain migration.
Chain migration. I mean, they just got their papers, bruh.
Right, which is good for them, but Donald Trump wants to cut it off for everybody else. So, I mean, it's like... Hold on, chain migration? Are my in-laws in?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's end that. Right. Cut that off.
So, when did she get her citizenship? It was just not too long ago, right?
I don't know when she got her citizenship, but I know she probably doesn't know the capital of Arizona. But anyway.
Wait a minute, what is it, man? What's capital of Arizona?
I don't know either, so, But I was born here, so it don't matter. Sorry, Arizona, my bad, Phoenix.
Yeah, no. We got love.
All right, Chris Paul and Rondo scrap it out on the court. Care or don't care?
I care.
Lamont, I need to hear this.
I care.
Why you care?
Not only is it good entertainment, this is America.
Because your president has now taught you that you have to be entertained?
Exactly. This is all about entertainment. I am so not an NBA guy. I've always said I don't like LeBron on the court. Off the court, he's amazing. But for him to be like the referee, and it's almost like he got to keep the kids from fighting. I mean, it was just good TV. You know what I'm saying?
Look, let me say this. I care. I'm a huge NBA fan. Philadelphia 76ers stand up. But, Chris Paul is my man. I like Chris Paul. I like Rondo. But I think everybody in the NBA knows that Chris Paul does some dirt. Chris Paul is out here being dirt McGirt. And Rondo was like, I ain't having none of that. You know what? Catch these hands. Rondo went fast with it. What? And so, hey, I like it. I like the entertainment value as well.
All right, let's move on real quick. Let's get to a couple of topics before we go. I want to talk about this Mark Lamont Hill thing and him denouncing Minister Farrakhan. Why is Mark Lamont Hill? Why is everybody denouncing the minister, man?
Can I apologize?
First of all,
can I apologize? You gotta let me apologize.
Barack can't go to Aretha's funeral.
Yes.
Because of the minister. Yes. Now, Mark Lamont Hill denounces the minister for $260. I ain't mad at Farrakhan. Farrakhan trying to get that music box. Lamont, why you not over there helping the minister? Get that man's records played. Lamont,
what you want me to do, man?
I want you to get the minister's records played.
You trying to get me kicked out of the music business? Is that what you trying to do?
Oh, so now you denouncing the minister too?
No, I didn't say that. Look at Maynard. No, what I said was...
Hold on. Let me turn my headphones up. Hold on, let me turn my... Clear. Lamont, you denouncing the minister?
I didn't say that.
You saying that if you were helping the minister, you couldn't be down with the game no more?
Well, I'm just going to take the same position as the 44th president of the United States. The guy that both of you two praise to the utmost and to the greatest of greats. He's one of those untouchable black men that we're not allowed to talk bad about.
Whoa.
Y'all said that. Y'all put him up there with Martin Luther King.
Wait.
You did say that.
One, is he not up there with Martin Luther King? And two, are you saying that he's not one of the greats?
I said greatest.
Greatest? Is he not one of the greatest?
No.
Are you denouncing the first black president of the United States?
No.
You got something bad to say?
Don't lie on me, Lamont.
Well, here's what I will say.
First black president?
Here's what I will say about the first black president. We still want Barack to stop smoking cigarettes. We love you, B-Rock. Put the nicotine down. Y'all know Barack was smoking them Newports in the back of the White House. Come on, that ain't no secret.
Yeah. What'd you say, Spudd, about what Chris Rock said about the club podcast? Grand opening, grand closing.
So wait. So I'm in trouble again. We got to edit this part out too.
No.
I can't say that Barack Hussein Obama was smoking Newports he was in the back of the White House.
Nobody's disputing that. We're talking about why can't you help the minister?
What I'm saying is that
Well, you trying to derail the conversation?
Yeah, of course. This is Maynard Scales hijack.
No. This is Lamont's business right here.
Right. You can't talk bad about Barack and anything that goes against Barack and the establishment. I want to take the same position. And when it comes to the minister, unfortunately, in certain sectors of this country, Farrakhan, they're afraid of Farrakhan. They're afraid of his truth. They're afraid of his ability to, I think, mobilize. You know? That's just the bottom line. And Mark Lamont Hill knows it. He got the call from CNN and said, hey, my man, if you want to be on these airwaves, you better denounce Farrakhan right now. Farrakhan talks bad about Jewish people, and we ain't having that.
Okay.
So there you have it.
Okay.
Maynard?
I ain't got nothing to add to what Lamont said. I'm gonna let it be.
So you going with Barack?
All right, let's talk about.
Wait. You still going with Maynard? You didn't hear the story?
I pray to.
Listen,
I pray
Barack is my president. Newports and all.
Okay.
All right?
I pray too for Barack's health that he stopped smoking cigarettes, sir.
Right.
I support that. Tobacco is wacko.
Let's get to celebrity siding with Colin Kaepernick. Amy Schumer came out on her rant about, she told her reps that she didn't want to do any Super Bowl commercials. Rihanna declined the Super Bowl as well. Are we making some progress? Are these the things that we should be doing or that celebrities should be doing, both black and white, in order to be able to get Colin Kaepernick's message, one, heard, and two, to get him back playing football? Jacksonville Jaguars, they need a quarterback.
A lot of people need quarterbacks, but I think, one of the things is the NFL.
What are your thoughts about Amy Schumer's, comment?
Thank you, Amy. Appreciate it. Next.
I'm so excited.
I'm not. I mean, it's always very amazing when privileged people get an opportunity to make a statement that they could have made a year ago. And they say something that, look, I explained a little earlier about my grandfather going to, go to the coffee shop and then suing and then winning. And people say, oh, your grandfather was so courageous. He was so brave. And if he had been alive today, he'd say, I wasn't brave. I was doing the right thing. When you do the right thing, it's easy. So, Amy Schumer, what took you so long to do the right thing? Colin Kaepernick is doing the right thing from the beginning. So many of us just do the right thing. We don't have to sit there and talk about how courageous or how we're so thankful that people are upset because the boy the journalist from the Washington Post got murdered by the Saudi Arabians, and oh my goodness, that's not that big of a deal. Not that it's not a big deal that this man was murdered. The Saudi Arabian government murders people all the time. Do the right thing. Call out Saudi Arabia for murdering women and children in their country on a regular basis. Just do the right thing. So, Amy Schumer, thank you. That's nice. Very sweet. Appreciate your help. Do something else. Do something bigger. You got more capacity to do the right thing. Do more.
Lamont?
Who cares?
Okay. Hip Hop Evolution dropped over the weekend on Netflix. I binged it over the weekend. Shouts out to whoever's doing that whole thing. It really is good information. And the one thing that I really didn't realize, I read Luke's book, and I heard his interview with Combat Jackman. He rest in peace. But Luke really did put Miami on the map. You got to really give Luke some props, man. Even though he changed the dynamics of hip hop music, but you got to give Luke his props, man. I mean, he fought the government, and that is a lot. That's a lot. So I just want to give my shout out to Luke, but it made me ask a question about hip hop and its evolution. About in your opinion, and I'll start with you, Lamont. The top 5 albums of all time. What are your top 5 albums of all time?
We can't do that. You're not gonna put me in that box like that. No chance.
What are your go-to 5 albums
hip
of
hop
all time? Hip hop.
Okay, I can't put R&B in there.
No, this is hip hop.
Come on, man. I just you gotta let me. I gotta think about that. But let me just say this while I'm mentally putting that together.
He's thinking about it. Did you send these show notes out earlier?
I don't pay attention to what you send out, man.
I didn't send them out.
Thank you.
I saw that, Spudd. Yeah. That was on the show notes. Yeah, I saw that. Okay, I'm ready. You ready? No. Here's what I'm gonna say though is that I echo what you said about Uncle Luke. I think he actually was someone, and he said this in one of the speeches that I think that he had at one of the award shows. He was like an outsider to the industry. I mean, on so many different levels of things that go back to him. And one of my biggest, because I saw a lot of it, and to see where he is today is Pitbull. Give me a minute, man. Let me do what I'm doing. I got this, man. So from all of the rappers, but a lot of people
Five albums.
They don't know the history that Uncle Luke is what started Pitbull. You know what I'm saying? From his whole rap thing to his evolution, blah, blah, blah. So 5 albums all time. I got to go with Radio because that was LL Cool J. That was the first record I ever bought in my life.
Strong.
I got to go with Ready to Die, Notorious B.I.G. I almost have to go with Boogie Down Productions. If I got to go with an album, come on, man, the one with the gun where he's looking out the window.
By Any Means Necessary.
By Any Means Necessary. So I'm at 3. I almost got to go with King of Rock.
Ooh, strong.
No,
King of Rock was dope too. Strong.
Because to me, King of Rock was still in that rock and roll phase of what hip hop was, and to me that was important. And my final, and I feel bad because I'm not going with some of the young guys, but I go with Nas's first album.
Illmatic.
What was the album that you slept on?
Doubt. You slept on Doubt, right?
I'm still not a Reasonable Doubt fan, and I'm going to go to the grave with that one. It was cool, but it wasn't influential like that for me. Okay. That didn't make me a Jay-Z fan.
Politics as usual?
Nah, I'm good. I mean, it's cool. We can do it. It's kind of like, it's like a T-bone steak. Like, you'll eat it, but it's like, you don't go out and order a T-bone steak anymore. You know what I'm saying? Who does that?
We not ordering T-bone steaks no more? We not allowed to have steak?
You don't order T-bones. No.
Why not? What's wrong with the T-bone?
Porterhouse and up?
Of course. If you're in the right restaurant, they're not going to serve you a T-bone. You're only going to get a porterhouse. And a porterhouse for 2 or for 4. You feel what I'm saying? So they're not going to...
So now we know why Lamont's voting the way he's voting.
I mean... Honestly,
some of us are still going to the Texas Roadhouse with coupons. I'm just saying.
Someone's going with Ponderosa, baby boy.
Oh, the Pond D.
No, watch this. You know that was the first job I ever had. Ponderosa still open?
Yeah, still open. They got a couple of them out there in these streets.
Oh, I didn't know.
Man, they're top 5 albums of all time.
Boom. Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. Public Enemy. That's number 1 for me. Radio, Lamont, we agree there. 36 Chambers.
Up from the 36 chambers.
Doubt and Illmatic rounds it out for me. And it's going to change tomorrow.
What was the album you slept on?
Southern Playalistic. Outkast.
Wow.
You know what? Let me back. Wait a minute. It's a lot you can put in there. Because I'm going to tell you whose album, since he's going to say that. That Goody Mob album, that first Goody album.
Was that Cell Therapy?
Yes. I was like, But then you got a little, you let that thing bake in the oven for a minute. You go back and listen. You like, wait a minute. But after there are a lot of albums you can put in there. You just can't be like one album that you slept on. It's a lot. There's
a lot. And I mean, and the fact that you slept on something doesn't mean that it's one of the greatest. It just means that you didn't know it was dope, right? So
I slept on Raekwon. I slept on Cuban Links.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, I was a Raekwon fan, but Raekwon, to me, he's the epitome of the Wu-Tang. Right. Epitome. He's the one. You know what I'm saying? And it took a while for me to get to that because Raekwon was not as promoted within the Wu-Tang family like the other people in the Wu-Tang. But Raekwon,
I think nobody got the kind of promotion that 2 people got almost everything at first, which was Ghost. I mean, I'm not Ghost, Method and ODB.
Exactly.
And then Ghost maybe, but Raekwon and Ghost were in the same space for a minute.
Spud?
I'm gonna start with what I slept on.
Please don't say Ice Cube. I don't want to hear Ice Cube in your list, bro. You my man, but you need to chill with that Ice Cube foolishness.
I slept on Nas, Illmatic. I didn't see that coming. I did not. I couldn't tell you one song on that album right now.
What?
Yeah, I slept on that whole thing. Yeah,
you need to recover from that. You need to wake up. You need to wake up and jump on that. Listen.
One Love, I was a fan of. I was a fan of One Love, but I didn't get that whole album. I was like, nah.
New York State of Mind.
I'm not doing that. No, That I slept on that one. Ready to Die.
Okay. Hard.
Straight Outta Compton. Up from the 36 Chambers. Reasonable Doubt. Takes a million, takes a nation of millions to hold us back.
Yo, my dude, it ain't hard to tell. The World Is Yours, One Love.
I slept on
represent
that.
New York State of Mind and Life's a Bitch.
I was about a year behind. I was like,
but you still not even messing with it.
Feeling.
You still not messing with that Nas album. And see, I slept on the Outkast Southern Player. What I'm saying is that when it dropped, I was like, I'm not feeling it.
I didn't sleep on Outkast. You couldn't. I lived in Dallas at that time. You couldn't sleep on that.
But I'm saying,
there was no way in the world you could sleep on that.
What I'm saying when I say I slept on it, it means I didn't realize how dope it was until after everybody had jumped on.
That's what was saying while we were Nas. I was like, I'm not. When I got on.
You telling me right now that you no. You telling me right now that you still ain't feeling Illmatic.
No. I'm not saying I'm not feeling Illmatic. I'm just saying I slept on it. Like now, it's a classic. But
you don't know what you don't know more than one song off of it.
No.
You still sleeping.
I jumped on Nas when It Ain't Hard to Tell the remix came out. When the remix came out, I was like, oh, okay. I didn't really get with Nas until. Oh man!
I know what you're about to say. When he and Lauren did "If I Rule the World."
After.
Wow.
I didn't get with Nas until.
I know I can.
No, it might be on that Cup of what's the name of that album? The one with the Pharaoh on it.
It was written.
It was written. That's when I got on Nas. That's why I was like, oh, yo, Nas is so smash. What was that, 2003? I slept on Nas.
I mean, I was on Nas at the barbecue back in, was that 91? Phew. We're gonna pray for you and your hip-hop credibilities.
I got hip-hop credibility. I just slept on Nas.
I was going to say, so Maynard, do we hate on the Tekashi 6ix9ine trippy red consumer that does not know about It Takes a Million to Hold Us Back?
I think we're okay with them as long as they recognize that they don't know what they don't know, and they need to acknowledge that. Like, you can't sit here, like the other day somebody was saying, I'm a Sixer fan. Somebody was saying, is Joel Embiid going to go down as as the greatest Sixer to ever play the game? And I'm looking at it, hold on, Joel Embiid ain't won no championship with us yet. You know, Joel Embiid, I mean, a person who wore a Philly uniform was Wilt Chamberlain. He scored 100 points. How you going to talk about Joel Embiid? But then I look up and these kids are like 24 years old. Like, they don't know. They don't know that Allen Iverson or Dr. J or Moses Malone or Daryl Dawkins existed.
Barkley?
No. There'll be no.
Come on, give Charles Barkley his props, B.
Wow.
There'll be no Charles Barkley. There'll be no Charles Barkley love from a Philly fan. Sorry.
So let me just say this, Maynard, and I'll admit this. It took me until I was probably around 25 or 30 to really understand and appreciate the music that my mother and father played when I was a little kid. Like now, to me, and I get in trouble with this, those boys from Philly in the 70s were harder than the Detroit boys. Everything that them Philly boys did, like that
Gamble,
music.
You talking about Gamble and Huff.
Listen, them boys was gangster with it, right? And to me, one of my favorite go-to, old school joints is the OJs. And you listen to the way that they put those records together, the instrumentation, the vocals, the whole shebang. Dope. But I didn't get that till later on. When I was a little kid, I was like, Mama, could you cut that off? I don't want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? So you got to give the young people a little bit of leeway, and hopefully that they catch up and they come back and understand that Nas was it, or that B.I.G. was it, or that Jay was it before the Beyonce J. You know what I'm saying? The Damon Dash J.
The LL Cool J.
The LL Cool J, and some kids don't know that he has music because all they know is CSI,
the Scott LaRocks, the KRS Ones.
Yes,
and I mean, but I think what happened is, thanks to Uncle Luke, the beats started being more important than the lyrics, right? Because he gave us that bass music and boom, 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 and it became hip hop. A criticism of hip hop, East Coast hip hop, was it was largely undanceable. Right. It was for listening. You could bop your head a little bit. You could maybe do the wop, but it was, East Coast.
Mental. It's all in your head.
East Coast hip hop was either for breakdancing or for listening to mentally, and so it took a little bit of what we call booty music or bass music to make it, danceable. And then when women started dancing to it,
scrub the grind. Which one was that? Scrub the grind. Which one was that, Spudd? Was that the Poison Clan? Come on, man. Come on. Oh, come on, man. That wasn't nothing to play with, bro.
No, ain't none of that nothing to play with.
So, so once the beats started becoming more important than the lyrics, I think now we got where cats aren't even really rapping now, and it's not to me, it's not as critical.
Well, I think the difference, in my opinion, is that when we grew up, regardless of wherever it was from, it was still an authentic product of your environment. It wasn't a fabricated part of your environment. It wasn't
hyperbole.
Right. It wasn't somebody pretending to be a gangster and going on, wax and actually talking about being a gangster. It was like, yo, no, we really gangsters. I mean, so when you talk about Luke and you talk about NWA, I mean, those were true stories from their environment. So it was real talk. Now it's just kind of like, you don't know what's real and what's fake. You don't know. To me, in my opinion, it's all fake. But that's just me. We out. Woo. We out.
We'll
do this again next Tuesday.
Do you run a marathon or something? You were like, woo!
I did. It's been a long show. Thank you so very much to Charlotte Williams and Joan Lee for being a part of this show. Thank you so very much to Cleveland for continuing to listen to Three Black Guys with the Mic. Make sure you join us on our Facebook page and be a part of this conversation. We want to hear from you. What's your top 5 albums of all time? Let us know.
Cleveland.
What's that album you slept on?
Cleveland.
Who are you voting for? Cleveland, holla at us. Detroit, holla at us. Alabama, holla at us.
Dallas.
Atlanta, show up. We need 153,000 to show up on November 6th. Florida, don't listen to Lamont. Show up. Negroes, we need y'all to show up.
Cleveland, we just want to thank y'all for putting up with Lamont. We know it's difficult. We do, Spudd and I do the best we can to put up with him ourselves. So we just want to thank y'all. Y'all just continue to rock out with us. Thank you.
Slave mess stuff right there. Thank you, Massa. Appreciate you, Massa.
Thank you, Massa.
Facebook.com. Go to Facebook.com/Three Black Guys with the Mic, as well as ThreeBlackGuysWithTheMic.com. Get yourself a T-shirt. Get something. Do something.
They make great Christmas presents.
Right. Share this episode with your friends. Let them know where we are and what we're doing. We'll do it again next Tuesday right here for Three Black Guys with the Mic. Peace.